Never judge a book by its cover. Meet the Adelson family of Miami, Florida. Harvey and Donna, oldest son Rob, Charlie the middle child, and Wendy, their daughter. Rob is now estranged from the family. Let's look more closely. This is Harvey Adelson, a dentist. This is Donna Adelson, Harvey's wife. She is your typical Jewish mother who raised 3 children with very accomplished careers, 2 doctors and 1 attorney. Meet Charlie Adelson, the middle child. He is a periodontist. Meet Wendy Adelson, the youngest and the only daughter. She graduated from law school and she married Dan Markel, pictured here. Dan graduated from Harvard Law School and was a professor of law at Florida State University. They had 2 young boys and what one would think is a great life. But Wendy wasn't happy. She didn't like Tallahassee. She found it to be full of hillbillies. Wendy and Dan divorced. There was a custody battle, and Wendy wanted to relocate back to Miami where her family was. Dan loved his boys, and he refused to let her relocate. That's when the Adelson family took matters into their own hands. And here is the story. This is Katie Magbanoa. She was dating Charlie Adelson, Wendy's older brother. You can see them here. Charlie enjoyed dating Asian women. Charlie also took great pride in having friends from both sides of the tracks. Here we see Katie and Wendy having drinks on the beach in Miami. Are they laying out the perfect plot to get rid of Dan? Dan and Wendy rotated weeks of custody during the summer. This was the house that Dan lived in and retained after their divorce. This photo of Wendy with the boys was rumored to have been photoshopped by her father. Wendy also made this her Facebook profile photo the night before Dan's unaliving. Was that a coincidence? In July of 2014, Dan drove home from the gym, pulled into his garage, to be met by a man holding a gun, who then unalived Dan. It was over a year before investigators had good and solid leads. Investigators and the FBI worked together and linked Luis Rivera to the crime. He had rented the car, Prius, in his real name, and it had a Sun Toll card that was captured throughout the drive in Florida. Luis negotiated a plea deal. He admitted to being the one to drive. However, there was somebody else who did the unaliving, and that person is Sigfredo Garcia. Here's where the story gets really interesting. Sigfredo Garcia and Katie, remember her? Katie had dated Charlie, but she also had 2 children with Sigfredo Garcia. Katie and Sigfredo were tried together for the unaliving of Dan Markel. Wendy testified in the trial and thought she did an amazing job as a witness for the state. Wendy was given immunity and derivative use immunity as she took the stand on behalf of the state. This meant anything she said could not be used to prosecute her for the unaliving of Dan Markel. Check out the look Sigfredo shot to Wendy as she exited the courtroom after taking the stand. Katie had been offered a full plea deal. To not have to stand trial, all she had to do was flip and tell her story. Katie refused and went to trial anyway. Many wonder, how did Katie afford 2 high-powered defense attorneys? Sigfredo Garcia was found guilty and is serving life in prison in Florida. Katie had a hung jury. Why? 1 juror was a holdout. She was pregnant, and she could not imagine sentencing both Sigfredo and Katie to prison when they had 2 children. She didn't care that she thought Katie did the crime. She didn't want both mom and dad to be locked up. Katie went back to jail to await a new trial, again turning down a plea deal where she could walk out of there and be free of all charges. Due to COVID and various delays, it was years later before she went to trial again. More developments in the case. Charlie Adelson, Wendy's brother, was arrested. A recording of Charlie and Katie in a restaurant had been edited with enhanced audio, and this caused Charlie to be arrested and was key evidence in his trial and Katie's second trial. Katie was convicted in her second trial and is serving life in prison in Florida. Wendy testified again with the same immunity deal, again representing the state in Charlie's trial. She tried to bat her eyes and look ever so innocent, but did it work? Katie also decided to flip, even though she had been offered this in a plea deal. It was too late for a plea deal, but she did tell her side of the story in Charlie's trial. She said Charlie asked her, "Do you know some people that can rough somebody up?" Meaning Dan Markel. Luis Rivera got the sweetest deal of all and will be out of prison before long. He too took the stand and glared down at Charlie. He told the story of driving the car and Sigfredo, who will pulling the trigger. He said they did it so the lady could get her kids, referring to Wendy. Charlie took the stand. He was very rehearsed and bragged about his cars and all the money he made. But guess what? It didn't matter. He was found guilty by the jury in less than 3 hours, including lunch. He is serving life in prison because Charlie blamed the Latin Kings gang for the involvement in the unaliving. He had threats in prison in Florida. He's been transferred to South Dakota, where he is serving his life sentence in a prison. 1 week after Charlie's conviction, his mother Donna was arrested at the airport. She and Harvey were boarding a one-way flight to Vietnam. Vietnam is a non-extradition country. Donna's trial was set to begin in September of 2024, but it fell apart due to counsel conflicts, as her attorney had also represented Charlie. Look how she aged in less than a year in jail. Donna has new counsel now and is currently set to begin trial in June of 2025. This is Donna in a recent hearing in March of 2025, begging for bond, but she was denied. Wendy is an unindicted but named co-conspirator and lives her free life. She has no contact with her parents or her brother, and it is rumored she now lives in Austin, Texas with her boyfriend and teenage sons. Many predict Wendy will be arrested as soon as Donna is convicted. Justice for Dan Markel.